All right, let's get into the next discussion proper now. The United States of America has formally agreed to sell 12 Super Tucano planes and other weapons, including bombs, to Nigeria.
Absolutely. Now, Nigeria's Air Force says the U.S. ambassador to the country has presented letters of offer and acceptance. It added that the U.S. State Department would sign final agreements and necessary payments would be made before February the 20th.
Now, former U.S. President Barack Obama had delayed the sale in one of his last decisions in office after the Nigerian Air Force bombed a refugee camp in January.
All right, still with us in the studio is Charles Edeho to analyze the story for us. Thank you for staying on.
Thank you.
Yes, cherry news indeed, one would say, but somehow it seems to be going back and forth. Because I recall in August, Vice President Oshibajo was thanking America for the 12 Tucano fighter jets.
Yeah, but I think, you know, there are processes put in place. It's not something that you just have overnight. And this has to do government versus government, not company versus company. So there are, especially when you talk about things like this diplomacy is something that you have to be very careful, because when you sign such a bilateral agreement what has to do with war, you must be careful that all the I's are properly dotted and the T's are crossed. So this thing has been on even since April. August this year, the Pentagon officials, they visited the Congress to tell them about the desire of Nigeria to acquire some of the sophisticated aircraft to boost the fight against insurgency in Nigeria. For them to have accepted amidst that we're beginning to be embraced. You remember during the Jonathan era that the Leahy law was you know, activated, and we couldn't do much. But now that they appear to have embraced us and they are ready to sell to us, it may be a little bit delayed, but I think in January, the Nigerian officials are going to be visiting U.S., where they are going to be talking about this letter of an acceptance, the terms of agreement, then the training of the manpower. And also by January, I'm sure they're going to be crossing another hurdle towards having this aircraft sent to us.
But in true terms, the ordering for military hardware, it takes a long process, like you said.
Yes, that's right.
Now, when the payment is made between now and February 20, that is when the beginning of the manufacturing is going to start. So it's going to still take maybe until the end of the year.
Yes, yes.
And even maybe next year.
Into 2019.
Into 2019
Yeah,
before
especially. So that's what I said. But perhaps whether we get it now or later, as far as we didn't have insurgency to deal with, whenever they come, they are going to be a morale booster. They're also going to help the military to also up their game in that. But I think the actions have been expedited to make sure that they reduce the time frame to have these things brought up. Because this aircraft, the A-29 Tucano, Super Tucano, they are very important. They're very effective in ground attacks. They are propeller driven. They're also very good with reconnaissance and surveillance. So, which is if Nigeria is able to get them, it's going to really help us in the fight against this. But what I'm saying first right now is that actions are being put in place. I'm sure with what is going on now, they are going to expedite action to make sure that the time lag will be reduced, so that it may not also get to 2019 for we have them. I don't know. I mean, but that's what I'm hoping to be.
Okay, yeah. Nigeria, after the Leahy law was activated, of course, we know how some things played out. That Nigeria had even tried to smuggle some arms and all that, but then it had to reach out to some countries. Brazil, in fact, was already at the tip of agreeing to Nigeria's terms to supply Tucano planes, and then the U.S. blocked that agreement, and then Brazil pulled out.
Yes.
So would you say that it's time for Nigeria? Yes, we know that Pakistan is to supply
UAE as well.
UAE as well, United Arab Emirates. Right. So would it be good at this time for Nigeria to spread its tentacles and not wait on the United States? Because it seems that once a decision is taken, it could affect the territorial integrity and, of course, the military campaign of the country anytime from the U.S.
Well, sadly, you really can't do without you can't do without the U.S. in these terms. U.S. representing the West, and then Russia the East. there's almost nothing you can do without the U.S. in this thing. And that was why the U.S. was powerful enough to block Brazil. Even this aircraft we're talking about is also manufactured in Brazil. So how come we didn't go straight to Brazil to get them? We had to also pass through the U.S. So U.S. is very, very important and also very strategic. If we're able to cut the friendship of U.S. as we're doing... But
then U.S. supplied the Tucano jets to Brazil with the clause that if they want to sell it to any country, they have to get permission from them.
That's what we say. That's why I say U.S. is very strategic and very powerful. You can't do without U.S. in this thing because the arms market, the global arms market is almost 90% or 99.9% controlled by the U.S. So there's absolutely nothing you can do. And U.S. also has to play that role because especially if those arms, ammunition, get into the wrong hands, there's problem. Sure. You are battling with insurgency in the Middle East. You have the Maghreb region in Africa. You're also having that. Then we're also having that, and then this is getting into the hands of the wrong people here, down south. There's a problem. So that's why I said that you can hardly do without the U.S. in these steps. But thankfully, as we have been able to cut the French of U.S. now, so it might be El Dorado. At the end of the day.
All.
Yes.
Now, in this fight against insurgency, we've been on all the while talking about what the government is doing, what is doing right, what is not doing right, and how they're communicating with the people and all of that. But if this Super Tucano, when they arrive, is it going to be the end of Boko Haram? Because this is not the first time we're talking about delivery of some very sophisticated either intelligence or military hardware.
It may not be the end, but you also cannot rule out the human factor, coupled with the Nigerian factor. As I said in another forum, you also have the issue of there are people within the system that are desirous of keeping the war going because of what they get from it. For instance, you have the defense contractors. You have even the military themselves who are feeding fast from the system. So if the war comes to an end, then you have blocked, in fact, you have taken away from them their means of livelihood. So there are also people within the system who also would not want the thing to go to. I tell you one thing, there was even this allegation when the U.S. first of all came, during the Chibok guys, the hit of Chibok guys, that the U.S. also, they were able to target the location of the Boko Haramites. So they said, okay, they were going to gas them. Okay, they were going to gas them and then fish them out. So at the end of the day, when they said they were doing their area, they saw they were wearing masks. So how did they get to know information? It's possible that within the system, information leaked to the Boko Haram. So it tells you that the human factor is also the Nigerian factor. I don't know how we're going to deal with that, but except there's a reorientation of the military infrastructure in Nigeria, where they can actually look at Nigeria as the be-all and end-all of all of us, to have this natural interest, you know, as overriding against the personal and pecuniary interest that we are having now. So until we get there, whether you bring in 100 to Kano, it may not just bring the war to an end instantly. Okay. So it's going to be a gradual process.
All right. And then there is need to look at the humanitarian angle of all of this. Yes. Why the U.S. had to activate the Leahy Law in the first place when there was an accidental bombing of civilians in January. So how important is it really that our military officials have to maintain due diligence and maintain rules of engagement when handling military hardware like this and when on reconnaissance missions?
Well, the thing is that I think they're going to be trained. We really don't have problem with the issue of Nigerian military officials doing what is right. If you look at the police, whenever they go to foreign missions, they usually do their best. The question is why?
They come out best
everywhere. So it means that we don't have problem with that. It just has to do with the environment. Yeah. So I'm sure with the training being put in place, well, I'm sure they might
it's always not difficult for Nigerians to train and get the best of trainings and all of that. They've always shown excellence in all of those things. So there's no problem with that. But the point there is, remember sometime early last year, the president, when he came on board, talked about activating the Nigerian weapons manufacturing and all of that. I wonder how that project is going now.
But I think we should also look at look inward, because if we continually be expecting to get all this arms ammunition from abroad, this issue of U.S. blocking us, we're not will not fizzle out. But again, when you talk about manufacturing arms here, how are you sure that those things are not also getting into the hands of young people? Remember this issue of Nigeria 2017.
Okay.
You remember the police ASP that was put in charge of the armory of arms seized from robbers. He was put in charge of that, but he also was now the one who was selling this into robbers. So that's also a possibility. That's what I'm saying. A reorientation has to be put in place.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much for your analysis, Charles Ideho. Thank you for coming to the show.